Mansfield. Demo discs were special. Demos still exist, limited snippets of an upcoming game released for free to the masses in order to tempt you into a purchase, which sounds a lot like eFootball 2022, but it's not that, I promise. No, demos are intentionally limited in what they offer rather than because Konami is a waste of space these days. Demos are good, demos are great, they still do a job, they're still valuable to us players. Demo discs were special though. Nowadays you go to whichever online store you want and choose one specific game to download its specific demo of specifically. That's cool, you get the demo of the thing you want. But demo discs would often present a mishmash of different titles, bundled together on the CD or DVD or floppy or cassette, or did they do demo cartridges? Whatever. It was a bunch of demos, not just one, and you had no say in the matter. Why is that good? Well, because it forced you out of your comfort zone. Specifically going to a specific game to get its specific demo has too much specificity behind it. Getting a copy of the official PlayStation magazine and loading up its cover-mounted demo disc was a journey into the unknown. Yes, you might be tempted in by the big game on the artwork on the case, but once you played that main game to death, there were other things in there. Things you didn't know existed, things you'd never think to give the time of day to, things you'd play again 20 odd years later for a video and completely forget what to do. Getting ahead of myself a bit there. So with those thoughts in my thought bin, I decided to scrape through the grease trap that is my memory and find some of the best demos that came to the original PlayStation. For once I've actually limited the scope of a video to something vaguely manageable, who knew that was possible? But that does mean I won't be talking about the Panzer Dragoon Saga demo from the official Sega Saturn magazine, which was actually the entire first disc of the 4-disc game. Well, I spoke about it just then, but the rest of the demos are for the PS1. Just before we jump in, I have a Patreon you can support, the link's below. Patrons get early access to videos, outtakes, blog posts, behind the scenes gubbins, and more, and I'm always thinking of even more extra stuff to throw their way. So join in. Back to the demos. Brilliantly, the first demo I want to highlight wasn't the main demo on the disc. That honour went to Pandemonium 2, and that's telling. See, back when it first came out, Grand Theft Auto wasn't a behemoth. It ended up a cultural phenomenon, no doubt, but in its early days it wasn't strange to see the game relegated to the back row behind bigger, more well-known releases like Pandemonium 2, where you played as a jester and ran around 2.5D levels jumping at stuff. Who even remembers? But I do remember the Grand Theft Auto demo on this disc because I played it to absolute death. Genius in its simplicity, the demo set you off at the start of the game and let you just play. Everything as it would be in the full game from start to finish, just with an invisible timer stopping you from getting beyond 10 minutes through things. After 10 minutes, a black screen, thanks for playing, back to the menu. Load it up, start again, repeat the process. It was a powerful way of presenting a style of game many of us had never experienced before in 1997, a confidence rockstar, then DMA Design, would later be known for, proudly showing off its creation with a swagger, yeah you'll love it nod, throwing you in at the deep end and just seeing if you learn to swim. As a player it was unique, both as a game experience and as a demo. The invisibility of the timer kept you on your toes, pushing you on to constantly be trying harder and harder to get a bit further, to nab another car, to finish another mission. While the game itself, the freedom, the way you weren't forced to do anything, really, it was the perfect experience distilled, and the perfect way to first sample what would become a world-crushing monster of a franchise. Other forms of crushing, as in crushing stompy feet, came via the Demo 1 disc, which came bundled in with PS1s in the UK and Europe, as well as Australia and New Zealand. There were playable demos, sure, and plenty of hands-off demos and videos to get you into what the PS1 could do, but it was the more Jurassic experience that's still talked about to this day. It's officially called DINO, but as retro experts tend to refer to it as that demo on the PS1 of the T-Rex where you could move the camera about and make its mouth move like it was talking and stuff. Snappy, in more ways than one. Yes, a tech demo. a seriously impressive one in 1995, given the best example of 3D gaming on console most of us had seen was Star Fox/Wing's 12 frames per second on SNES. This was Jurassic Park CG, but you were controlling it. Neither of those things were true in that it's obviously far lower quality than Spielberg's terrible lizards, and your control was limited to panning the camera, moving the head and making the beastie open its mouth or show its teeth. But the illusion was strong enough to keep teens like me engaged for far longer than it should have, and importantly, enough to make you want to show it off to friends. Surely the intended purpose of DINO on Demo 1. We were all conned by a marketing tool masquerading as a tech demo, and crikey did it feel great. Of course, the benefit of putting multiple demos on a single disc was that sometimes you'd get 2 legendary demo versions on one legendary demo disc, as was the case with the official UK PlayStation Magazine's Demo Disc 8 Volume 2. Videos of Bushido Blade and Death Trap Dungeon might have tempted, while the playable croc was ready to show us a true Mario 64 beta on PS1. Alright, it wasn't, but we had hope back then. But it was the headliner of PARAPPA the Rapper and the hyped but not quite understood Oddworld ABE'S Odyssey that took the plaudits and created those burned into my brain memories that will last forever. No, I can't remember my maternal grandmother's first name, but I can recite PARAPPA's first rap off by heart. Haha, the priorities of my brain. The PARAPPA the Rapper demo, I would posit, based on little more than a gut feeling, was responsible for the game's popularity, at least in the UK. It's a game that didn't particularly explain well. It's like Simon, but with a dog in a beanie who raps. Also, everything's paper thin and your karate teacher is an onion. Someone waffling that at you when you're waiting for the bus would be a good reason to run away very quickly. The demo, on the other hand, was able to show rather than tell, and what a show it was. The first level in full, playing one of life's great gaming songs and eternally imprinting on so very many of us the mantra: kick, punch, it's all in the mind. If you want to test me, I'm sure you find the things I'll teach you. Be sure to beat you. Nevertheless, you get a lesson from teacher now. And then ABE'S Odyssey on the very same disc, a game that was easier to explain. Think the Flashback or Another World style mix of platforming and puzzles and instant death, but mixed with an anti-capitalist, pro-animal rights, pro-worker message and the ability to fart on command. But still a game that was better shown than told. It wasn't necessarily the game proper that hooked me on the Oddworld demo. It was fun, and I still enjoy it now, but the atmosphere, the sense of place, the sense of humour, it all took me by surprise and made the game into a completely unexpected favourite. I'd honestly have been unlikely to give it half a chance if I'd only ever seen it in magazines, so the fact it was there, in among the others, waiting to be played, was a boon. Plus, farting on command will always be funny. And in the game. It wasn't the sole purview of PS1 demo discs to show off little-known games that would otherwise fly under the radar, of course. Quite the opposite. And some big-name big games got the legendary demo treatment and helped to sell games to me that, frankly, I'd already bought in my head. The Metal Gear Solid demo, well, that nearly made my mind explode. I'd read the previews, I'd felt the heat coming off the pages as those writers went to town chewing on the hype train. I'd picked up a ticket to board myself, but nothing could prepare you for playing it for the first time, entering into the world of Solid Snake in 3 dimensions and figuring out in that opening section just how to knock on walls, smack about guards, hide behind forklift trucks for ages, and not realise how close you were to a spotlight. They didn't have the same kind of impact as other demos from other discs did, but MGS's compatriots on its disc included some genuinely good games I'm sure will have impressed many a player who just bought the magazine to be able to waddle about as the snaky one. V2000, Scars and Devil Dice were all at the very least decent games, and Cool Borders 3 certainly existed. The other big game demo disc of this sort of kind of list featured some actual bangers like Colin McRae Rally, Dead or Alive and Klonoa, as well as the overlooked half-decent war games. But hurtling around dirt tracks in a Subaru or wobbly boobs in a fight couldn't compete, because the main attraction for this particular disc was, of course, Gran Turismo. It had been a long time coming, 2 trailers on previous discs, but here we were, finally, the full game to enjoy. Well, the full game minus 99.5% of its features, but, you know, still. Naturally, I chose for this video to hurtle around a non-dirt track in a Subaru, but that's besides the point. The point is, this was the point when driving games on console became the real thing. Instantly, the arcade racer felt old, unrealistic, even childish. We'd had our fun elsewhere, but the Gran Turismo demo was here to say, hey, mate, come here and get involved in a world of aerodynamic drag and tyre softness and camber and learning exactly what a Nissan Skyline is, because in your life the most exotic car you've ever encountered is a Ford Capri. Obviously it was the actual full game that made Gran Turismo the hit it was, something truly special, but it was this demo that instantly captured the hearts of many a would-be petrolhead. Gear face. Exhaust wrist? Brake pad toe. Alright, that's 2 big name games in a row. It's good to be reminded that these demo discs threw out the unexpected joys too, and probably my least expected, or most unexpected fun time was with Kurushi, known as Intelligent QUBE outside of Europe. And yes, this is the game I completely forgot how to play when recording this video, but I'm nothing if not painfully transparent, so kept this nonsense in to show you just how truly incompetent I am. Hey, support me on Patreon. Kurushi was joined by Psygnosis' fun but forgettable Overboard and the less fun and even more forgettable Rallycross and Actua Golf 2. It wasn't exactly a stellar lineup, so maybe expectations were lowered as a result. Maybe it might have fared differently were Metal Gear or Gran Turismo on the same disc. But maybe what made Kurushi stick with me and so many others who played this little snippet of the 3D puzzler was how much fun it was, how punishing it was, how unique it was. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, I forgot how to play it, so maybe it wasn't that memorable. I've stuck with UK, well, European demos here so far, and that's for a very good reason. I grew up in the UK, I'm from here. They're the demos I got, so that's my frame of reference. Wild, I know. But I don't want to leave our friends across the pond out, so I asked for input on this as to what a legendary PS1 demo was for the Yanks, and was told, in the least surprising answer of all time, it was related to a fast food restaurant. Yes, the Pizza Hut demo disc given away when you bought pizzas, surprisingly. I never played it. We need to go back some seconds to when I said I'm from the UK. Just watch the Nakey Jakey video about it for a straightforward, honest and sing-along worthy memory fest. But the actual point I'm making is this: one of the Pizzeria demos had Crash Team Racing, brilliant, Final Fantasy VIII, brilliant, some other things, great, and, key importance, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Or if you're in Europe, Tony Hawk's Pro Skateboarding. We should never forget that's what the first game was called here because they were too scared people in Europe would think it was a game about rollerblading. Anyway, it's a demo that introduced thousands, maybe millions of young North Americans to the joy of THPS in a one-level, repeatable run, in a game perfectly suited to one-level, repeatable runs. It also introduced plenty of them to diabetes. Of course, the multi-demo discs weren't the only thing around. There were plenty of lone title CDs pressed for PS1, and a few of them stuck with me as proper events to remember, even though it was no longer a voyage of discovery in playing them. There was a one-level Doom demo I had for what felt like months before the finished game came out on PlayStation, letting you take on the Gantlet in full before it swiftly reset to the title screen. There's a reason I can play that level like an absolute beast and 100% everything on it every time. Well, apart from items, but that just means I'm efficient. If you're getting 100% items in every Doom level, it just means you're using too much ammo and losing too much health, but I've digressed into edgy Doom opinions here. Back to the demos! Tekken 3 famously took the lone demo spot on an issue of the official PS1 mag, coming in a beautiful black case and allowing people to play as Eddie and Ling, so an early taste of the spamming twattery to come when the incredible arcade conversion finally hit the home market in 1998. I actually still have this demo disc somewhere at my dad's house, but sadly I'm not following the retro gaming YouTuber's playbook of having every little piece of irrelevant crap I've ever owned on an IKEA Kallax behind me. I'm sorry about that, I do feel like I'm letting you down. Speaking of incredible arcade conversions, Ridge Racer! One demo that doesn't quite fit either of the previous sort of categories I've set for myself here, neither multi-demo disc nor lone demo disc, but also a demo I did play a lot, was the Ridge Racer HI-SPEC demo, known as Ridge Racer Turbo in the States because, of course it was. But rather than this being a demo of the game per se, it was actually a tech demo. The original Ridge Racer ran on PS1 at 30 frames per second, while the HI-SPEC demo was a bit of internal experimentation by Namco released to the public as a freebie alongside Ridge Racer Type 4, in which the original Ridge Racer, I do feel like I'm saying Ridge Racer a lot here, in which the full original game was presented in a full 60 frames per second alongside updated graphics, and some detail-based cutbacks to make it all work, of course. It was a really cool bonus and a fine petri dish for the virus that is discussion about frame rates to grow from. If you think I'm missing something very demo-y here, and the thing you think I'm missing is Net YAROZE demos, you'd be wrong, I don't miss them at all. Bazinga! No, I acknowledge their existence, it just feels like they'd be better suited to a video of their own. For those who don't know, the Net YAROZE was a special PlayStation Sony sold that allowed you to make games at home for it. Demos and full games were put onto demo discs alongside full and proper releases, so anyone who played official PS1 magazine demos back in the day is likely to have encountered them. But not here. Not today. What is here, and is here today, is this and finally bit that I just like, so I want to mention it. While looking up the demo discs from the PS1's past, I stumbled across this little snippet as posted on Push Square, link below. Basically, the very first official PS1 magazine in the UK, and I think Europe, included a rolling demo of Wipeout. That is to say, a version you couldn't play, you just watched. But if you loaded up any demo from the Demo 1 disc that came with your PlayStation, the one with the T-Rex from earlier, if you loaded up a demo from that, swapped out the Demo 1 disc for the disc from the first issue of OPM, then pressed select, it would exit out and then load straight into the rolling Wipeout demo from that disc. Except it was now fully playable. Why? No idea. But it's cool, and another nice example of how demos always have the chance to be that bit more than you expect them to be. Which is, of course, just like my patrons over on Patreon who are always that bit more than I expect them to be. Seamless transition there. Here's a list of lovely folks who support me on the $5 or above tier because they are lovely and kind. And, of course, what would I be without my amazing higher tier supporters? Dead? Alive but not really living? Drunk in a bin? I don't know. And I'll continue to not know as long as they continue their support. So thanks to Lola Osman, Paintball Magazine PBM, Takara Hoshi. You can join in the Patreon fun at the link below where you'll find videos posted early, bloopers and behind the scenesy stuff, random blogs and lots more general extra fun things. Thanks for watching. I'm off to fart at some Mudokons. Bye!